Before we begin, if you love ancient mysteries, forgotten technology, and stories that blur the line between history and science, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon, because what you're about to hear is not just a story, it's a hidden chapter of human history, one that our world has completely forgotten. Thousands of years ago, long before writing, before kingdoms, before metal, humans discovered something extraordinary. A network, a cognitive grid, a prehistoric communication system built not with wires, but with thought. This is where our story begins. Nova, curious hunter with a mind too sharp for his age, begins to notice strange signals in the mountains. Deep vibrations, echoes, patterns that didn't belong to nature. Alongside him travel Lira, the brave warrior, Aruk the skeptic with a strong heart, and Elder Mora, the last guardian of forgotten knowledge. Their village has been hearing mysterious tones from the mountains. Stone surfaces changing, the earth responding like a living machine. Nova soon realizes the truth. Something ancient is waking up. When the group climbs the mountain, they find a massive black monolith buried in stone, not carved by humans, not shaped by nature. The moment Nova touches it, the monolith activates for the first time. The group sees visions of a past where humans weren't just hunters or gatherers. They were living servers, storing knowledge, sharing intuition, connecting through memory, a prehistoric internet powered by the human mind. They synchronized their thoughts by holding hands, and the monolith projects, the quantum map, 3 nodes, 3 ancient engines of memory and consciousness. Node 1 now awakened, Node 2 beginning to stir, Node 3 still dormant, but dangerous if awakened without balance. If these nodes collapse, the world collapses with them. After leaving the mountain, something impossible happens. The same vibration echoes across the valley, another node answering the first, and in the forest below, a tall shadow watches them. A stone-skinned guardian with glowing amber eyes, a sentinel created to protect the ancient network. Night arrives. The sky shifts into geometric symbols, routes, coordinates, messages. Elder Mora deciphers it. The map is calling us north, towards the ridge of whispering bones, a forbidden land filled with secrets. But before they can even rest, the sky erupts with a red flash. Boom. The ground shakes. The second node awakens. Nova knows what this means. Their journey isn't a choice anymore. It's destiny. The Stone Age internet is rebooting, and they are the only ones who can reconnect it, or let it fall into chaos forever. Outro: tell this at the end of the video if you enjoyed this summary and want to go deeper into the full story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves ancient mysteries. Because in the next episode, we travel to the second node, and what waits for us there will change everything we know about the origin of human intelligence. They were born rarely, 1 or 2 in every few thousand. Children who stared longer, listened deeper, noticed details adults ignored, while others forgot what they ate last night. These children remembered the exact smell of the fire, the sound of cracking wood, the shape of the smoke as it curled toward the stars. These were not ordinary minds. They were ancient anomalies. As they grew, their memory sharpened instead of fading. They recalled migrations from years ago, the paths taken by herds, the particular shade of red in poisonous berries, and the cries of predators during different seasons. To the tribe, this was terrifying. To nature, this was evolution. At first, these children were mistrusted. A mind that could see too much was dangerous. But everything changed when disasters struck. A great flood arrived once, unexpected, but one child remembered a similar storm pattern from years ago and led a group to higher ground. Another time, the rivers dried early, but a boy recalled a distant watering hole from a hunt long forgotten. Lives were saved. Slowly, the tribe realized memory itself was a survival weapon. These rare individuals became the first memory architects, living vessels of knowledge. Their brains were humanity's earliest hard drives. The birth of human servers, memory architects, didn't merely store facts, they stored the tribe's future. When a predator changed its hunting pattern, they remembered. When seasons shifted, they tracked the change. When rival tribes moved through territories, they noticed signs others overlooked: scattered ashes, fresh footprints, broken twigs, unfamiliar tool fragments. Their memories formed a predictive map of reality. People began to rely on them for every major decision. Should the tribe migrate? Is the dry season coming early? Is a predator nearby? Which food sources remain safe? Which plants heal and which plants kill? They became the tribe's decision engines. The strongest warriors protected them. The finest food was given to them. Their deaths were mourned like natural disasters. Without them, a tribe's data vanished. And when data vanished, tribes died. Knowledge equals survival. Memory equals power. These memory architects were humanity's first living servers, running the prehistoric version of an operating system, one built from intuition, pattern recognition, and relentless observation. The apprentices of memory, a memory architect, could not remain alone. Human life was fragile. Accidents, disease, predators, knowledge could disappear in a heartbeat. So they selected apprentices. These were not chosen for strength or bravery. They were chosen because their minds were hungry. Curiosity was the first requirement. Patience was the second. An unbreakable mind was the third. Training was brutal. An apprentice had to memorize stories with perfect accuracy, track animal migration routes for years, learn hundreds of plants by smell alone, observe weather shifts day and night, sit for hours watching shadows move across rocks, follow elders into dangerous regions, recall every lesson without error. One mistake could doom the tribe. If an apprentice misidentified a poisonous plant, people died. If they forgot a seasonal pattern, famine struck. If they misremembered a predator's behavior, children disappeared into the night. But those who succeeded became living libraries. Their minds held the tribe's history, their accumulated medical knowledge, maps of territories, secrets of survival, myths that encoded wisdom, ritual, sequences, migration routes. This was the earliest form of formal education, not written with ink, but engraved into memory. The forbidden memories. Not all memory was meant for every person. Some knowledge was too dangerous to be shared freely. Memory architects carried forbidden information. Secret caves containing emergency supplies, rival tribes, weaknesses, plants that could both heal and kill, rituals used to unify or manipulate the tribe, hidden water sources, vital during droughts, details about past conflicts or betrayals, stories that shaped tribal identity. These secrets were passed only to worthy apprentices. Because knowledge was power. If everyone had equal knowledge, chaos could consume the tribe. Leaders would lose authority. Hunters would challenge elders. Group unity would fracture. So the architects curated memory. Shared knowledge bonded the tribe. Forbidden knowledge protected it. This selective access created humanity's earliest hierarchy, a social structure built not on muscles, but on memory. The first encryption system without writing. How did ancient humans protect sensitive information? Through symbolic encryption. Knowledge was encoded into chants, gestures, rhythms, myths, dances, cave symbols. A simple chant like night blossoms come with a bitter taste might instruct what plant appears in which season, its effects on the body, how to identify its safe portions, when not to consume it. But unless you were trained, you couldn't decode the meaning. Ritual dances weren't entertainment. They were data sequences, teaching, directions, migration, routes, animal behavior patterns, spiritual rules. Emergency protocols, even cave drawings functioned as encrypted documents. Only the trained could interpret what a spiral, a handprint, or a zigzag truly meant. This was the Stone Age version of password-protected knowledge. Story engineers, the memory architects, discovered something revolutionary. Stories were the best memory storage system. A story is emotional. Emotion boosts memory. Memory boosts survival. So they engineered stories deliberately. Every myth carried hidden meaning. A giant represented a flood. A serpent represented disease. A sky god represented storms. A trickster spirit represented unpredictable nature. Ancestors represented morality and law. Underworld journeys represented winter or famine. Nothing in mythology was random. Stories were coded instructions for survival. Modern humans think myths are fairy tales, but prehistoric humans used myths the same way we use user manuals, maps, and textbooks. This made memory architects the first story engineers, designing tales that lasted thousands of years. The first memory temples before civilizations rose. Memory architects built their own temples, not from stone, but from space. These temples were designed to make memory last. A rocky cliff might represent warnings, a waterfall might represent renewal, a forest clearing might represent sacred unity, a lone boulder might mark a migration direction. Each location triggered certain stories, a technique we now call the method of loci. When a tribe gathered at a memory temple, elders recited encoded stories, apprentices repeated them, rituals were performed, landmarks were memorized, symbols were interpreted, secrets were transferred. This was humanity's earliest school, library, and data center, all at once. The Earth itself was the hard drive. Memory architects were the processors. The night before the hunt, the valley lay under a trembling veil of silence. Fires crackled softly. Sparks rose and vanished into the dark like tiny, glowing memories. The tribe slept in scattered circles, some under fur tents, some by the open flames. But Nova, Lira, Aruk, and Elder Mora remained awake, because tomorrow wasn't just another hunt. Tomorrow was the first experiment, and the prey was not an animal, it was an idea. A dangerous one. The signal they had never sent. Nova crouched near the fire, drawing symbols on the dirt circles, straight lines, spirals. Each symbol represented one possibility of the stone grid. Lira, sharpening her spear, looked over. "You think the signal came from the cliffs?" she asked. Nova didn't answer immediately. He drew 3 circles, then he connected them with a single straight line. "Not from the cliffs," he whispered, "from us." Lira froze. "You're saying we sent a message?" "No," Nova replied. "We're saying we could have, and something out there answered the message we never sent." Aruk blinked. "That makes no sense." Elder Mora leaned forward. "It makes perfect sense," she said. "If the universe is full of patterns, then sometimes the pattern speaks first." Aruk nodded slowly. "So tomorrow we hunt the pattern." Nova looked into the flames. "Tomorrow," he said, "we test the stone grid." 2. The mountain that hummed like a heart at dawn. They left the camp and climbed toward the eastern ridge. Mist rolled around them in slow, ghostly waves. The higher they climbed, the colder the air became. The rocks beneath their feet were wet, dark, almost metallic. Then, halfway up the slope, the humming began again, low, rhythmic, pulsing. Aruk gripped his spear. "You hear that same sound as before," Lira whispered. "The night we found the stones." Elder Mora stepped ahead, touching the rock wall with her palm. "The mountain is breathing," she said. "Feel it," and they did. The rock vibrated softly, but undeniably. Nova knelt and pressed his ear to the ground. "There's movement below," he murmured. "Not water, not wind. Something else." Lyra's breath shook. "You think the stone grid is inside the mountain?" "No," Nova replied. "I think the mountain is part of it." Entryway of the dead. After hours of climbing, they reached a narrow split in the stone, an opening that looked like a wound in the mountain. Cold air rushed out of it, sharp as ice, carrying the faint smell of minerals and something metallic. Aruk stepped back. "People go in there, they don't come out," he said. "My father said this place eats men." Elder Mora traced symbols near the entrance, ancient glyphs, faded by centuries. "These carvings tell another story," she said. "Not of death, of protection." Lira held her torch forward. "So something inside needs protecting." "Or," Nova said, "something outside needs protection from what lies inside." Lira swallowed. Aruk grinned nervously. "Great, we're either saving the mountain or saving the world." "Good to know." They entered. Inside, the passage sloped downward. Dripping water echoed through the tunnel. Their torches cast long, twitching shadows against the walls. And then the shadows moved. Not because of the fire, not because of them. The shadows moved on their own. Lira gasped and stepped back, raising her spear. "What is that?" Nova stared with wide eyes. "It's not alive," he said. "It's reflection, but not of us. Something deeper." Elder Mora whispered. "The light inside is traveling through the stone." They moved forward slowly until the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. And there it was, a massive slab of black stone, standing in the center. Not carved, not placed, grown, formed, like a natural monolith. But the strangest thing was not the slab, it was the shimmering symbols floating above it. Not drawn, not etched, projected. Lyra's jaw dropped. "It's glowing," Aruk whispered. "This is no ordinary rock." Nova stepped closer. "No," he said softly. "This is a processor." Elder Mora nodded in agreement. "A thinking stone." When the stone read their minds, Lira reached her hand toward the monolith. It responded. A pulse of light rippled across its surface. Soft, gentle, curious, as if the stone had woken up. Aruk stumbled back. "It noticed us." Elder Mora held up her torch. "Don't fear it. Stones are older than fear." Nova pressed his palm against the monolith slowly, cautiously, instantly. A flare of white light burst from the stone. The chamber roared with a deep vibration. Symbols flickered around them. The air thickened like fog. And then a voice. Not sound. A voice inside their minds. Connection detected. Lira fell to her knees, clutching her head. "Who said that?" "Not a who," Nova whispered. "A what?" The monolith spoke again. "Cognitive network. Active." Aruk's voice cracked. "Cognitive or..." Nova breathed. It's a network that reads thought. Elder Mora closed her eyes. Ancestors used it, but they forgot. And the mountain remembered. The monolith pulsed again. Query. House of Humans. State your intent. Nova swallowed. We seek knowledge. Query received. Response incomplete. A bright beam scanned the room. Alignment required. Lira looked panicked. What does that mean? Nova exhaled. It means, we need to think the same thought at first human server cluster. The monolith stood still, waiting. Nova turned to the others. Join hands. Aruk frowned. That's your plan? Yes, Nova said firmly. This stone system responds to unity. The grid outside works the same way. It's not about strength. It's about synchronization. Lira grabbed Nova's hand without hesitation. Aruk hesitated only a second before taking Lira's. Elder Mora placed her hand over Nova's, and in that circle, in the dim chamber, with the mountain humming around them, the first human server cluster was formed. Close your eyes, Nova said. Think of one idea. We are here to learn. They focused. The monolith brightened. The ground trembled. Light swirled around them like a storm of stars. And then, the monolith spoke again. Alignment complete. Access granted. Elder Mora gasped. We did it. But the monolith wasn't done. It projected an image into the air. A swirling sphere. Patterns, symbols, connections. The quantum map. Nova breathed. A map of everything the stone knows. Aruk blinked. So this is the knowledge grid your stones were part of? Yes, Nova whispered. But this one is bigger. Much bigger. Lira stared at the glowing sphere. What does it show? Nova stepped closer. It shows every possible future. Every path. Every pattern. Elder Mora's voice shook. So the ancestors weren't just hunters. Nova nodded. They were quantum thinkers. Future that feared them. As the quantum map rotated, one section glowed brighter red, pulsing. Warning. The monolith declared. Threat detected. Aruk stiffened. Threat? From what? The sphere zoomed in. Lines shrank. Patterns folded. The red section spread like fire. Nova's heartbeat thudded. It's not showing a creature, he whispered. It's showing an imbalance. Lira looked terrified. You mean the world is breaking? No, Nova said softly. The world is reacting. Elder Mora understood immediately. To what we awakened. The monolith pulsed. Network unstable. Restoration required. Aruk swallowed hard. So the stones need us? No, Nova said slowly. They need something from us. The monolith brightened. Seek the 3 nodes. Restore connection. Prevent system collapse. Lira clutched her spear. Send nodes. Elder Mora breathed. 3 mountains. 3 machines. 3 ancient minds. Aruk looked around. And this is one of them. Nova nodded. Yes. The monolith dimmed slightly. First node. Awakened. They all stared in shock. Lira whispered. If this is only the first, what about the other 2? Nova exhaled slowly. That, he said, is our next journey. The monolith flickered one last time. Time is limited. And then in an instant, all the light vanished. Darkness returned. The chamber fell silent. Only the echo of the final message lingered inside their minds. 8. The hunt begins. As they stood in the quiet chamber, Nova felt a chill run down his spine. We didn't find the pattern, he said. Lira looked at him. Then what did we find? Nova turned toward the dark monolith. The pattern found us. Aruk adjusted his spear. So, what now? Elder Mora answered. Now we follow the map. Now we awaken the next node. Now we become hunters of the unseen. And as they stepped out of the chamber, back toward the light of day, the mountain behind them vibrated one last time like a heartbeat slowly waking. Their true journey had just begun. The group emerged from the mountain into the blinding afternoon sun. The valley below shimmered golden, peaceful, almost unaware that something ancient had just awakened beneath its surface. But Nova felt it, a faint vibration in the air. A subtle tension in the wind, as if the world itself had heard the monolith's call. Lira shaded her eyes with her hand. Everything looks the same, she said quietly, but it doesn't feel the same. Aruk frowned. You mean the mountain changed something? Nova shook his head. No, we changed something. Elder Mora tapped her staff against the stony ground, and now the land listens. The tribe members gathered near a cliff to rest. The wind blew past them in a steady stream, whispering, curling, circling, like it carried hidden messages. Then Nova heard it, a faint rumble. No, not a rumble. A call. The same tonal frequency from inside the mountain, echoing, repeating, answering something far away. Lyra's eyes widened. That sound, listen, everyone fell silent. The mountain behind them vibrated once more, but this time, something answered from across the valley, a distant echo. A pulse of energy, like another mountain waking up. Eric's skin crawled. That wasn't us, right? No, Nova whispered. That was the second node. Elder Mora nodded slowly. It has sensed the awakening of the first. They are connected. Lira shivered. So it begins. The map in the sky as dusk settled. The clouds above shifted unnaturally. Thin white streaks twisted into geometric patterned circles, arcs, spirals. Nova watched the sky transform with a tightening chest. The quantum map, he murmured. But this time, the map wasn't projected by the monolith. It was written into the sky itself. Elder Mora interpreted the shapes softly. 3 nodes, 3 awakenings, 3 destinations. Aruk squinted. I see the shapes, but where do they lead? Nova closed his eyes. Inside his mind flashed the glowing sphere, the crimson pattern, the branching futures. He opened his eyes. They lead north, he said, to the ridge of whispering bones. Lira winced. That place is cursed, or protected, Elder Mora corrected. Aruk spit on the ground. Either way, we're going there, great. Nova stared at the distant horizon glowing faintly under the moon. We have no choice, he said. If the nodes collapse. He paused, searching for the right words. The world collapses with them. Lyra's voice softened. Then we go. The one who watched. They began descending the mountain trail as night fell. Torches flickered. Stones shifted beneath their feet. The forest ahead rustled softly under the rising wind, but they didn't notice a figure watching them from the tree line, tall, still shrouded in cracked stone-like skin. Its eyes glowed faintly to dim amber lights. When the group disappeared into the forest, the figure placed its hand on the mountain's surface. The stone reacted, pulsing gently in recognition. A voice echoed inside the figure's mind. First node, awakened. Second node, stirring. The figure tilted its head, listening. Then another message followed. Protect the path. The figure stepped away from the mountain, moving silently, almost gliding. It followed Nova's group from a distance, never too close, never too far its feet, leaving no trace on the ground. The night of whispers. As the group set up camp among tall pine trees, the wind became restless. It bent the branches. It pulled at the flames. It circled around them like a living thing. Aruk threw a stick into the fire. Feels like the forest is staring at us. It is, Elder Mora replied calmly. The world has awakened. Everything watches now. Nova sat against a tree, gripping a glowing shard chipped from the monolith. The shard pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Lira lay beside him. Does it scare you? She asked. Nova didn't answer at first. Then he said quietly, I'm not afraid of what we woke. Lira turned to him. Then what are you afraid of? Nova watched the shard glow brighter, responding to some distant signal. I'm afraid of what might wake next. The path that chose them before dawn. The shard in Nova's hand glowed violently, waking them all. A deep, rolling vibration surged through the ground. Boom. Followed by a flash of red light from the northern horizon. Lira jumped up. That came from the ridge. Aruk grabbed his spear. The second node has awakened. Nova finished. Elder Mora tightened her cloak. And the third will wake soon. Nova stepped forward, eyes locked on the glowing horizon. We follow the signal, he said. As long as the path leads us, Lira asked softly, and when the path ends. Nova looked at her. Then we choose another. He paused. Or the world chooses for us. The wind howled through the forest, carrying with it the distant pulse of ancient power. Their journey to the second node had officially begun.